Hello.
Hi, Jim.
Ed, you look a little more casual tonight. I like it. Ed, I said you look a little more casual tonight.
Yeah, I had to be. I mean, with the weather today, yeah.
Did we have any budgets? Did you send over anything or?
I sent a link late last night, Doug, an email.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
Thanks.
tied up, and then I was on the ZBA meeting, listening. Steve, you have the host, I assume, right?
I did, and I made you the co-host, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I have to earn my extra fee for being the scribe, you know, so.
Yeah.
Did I see Billy Boudry sign on?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. I gotta go down one more.
Yeah, sorry for the late link last night. I got the information, I think, Tuesday. And then anyway, work got in the way. I apologize. That's always frustrating when work gets in the way.
Jim, was anybody not coming tonight that you're aware of?
Yes, Joe is a public what do you call it? Permanent Building Committee.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Let me just check my email real quick too. I didn't look in the last few minutes.
We've got a quorum, right?
Tonight we will, yeah.
I think we do now. I think we have 8.
Do we have 8?
Yeah. Oh, no, we have 7, Kevin.
7, okay.
I'm miscounting Kevin.
I thought you were good at numbers, Doug. What happened?
Ballparks. It's like
ranges of numbers.
yeah. Sometimes you're up 20 and sometimes you're down 20. You know, that's just the way these things go.
Amy just emailed me. She'll be here, but a few minutes late.
Okay. There's Ellie. Stefan. Evan.
Hello,
I did.
And there you are.
here I am. So I got to tell you, I went skiing today. It was 65 degrees on the mountain about noon. We're skiing in t-shirts. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I was wondering about the snow abuse in the next 48 hours, how much you're gonna lose.
Yeah, around my place here in Maine, it's mostly gone except for some piles. The mountain still has quite a bit, and they're talking about closing April 30th. If we get some more days like today and tomorrow, I'm not sure they'll make the 30th, but that's their goal. I'll be switching to rock skis real quick. As my wife says, so are you skiing through intermittent dirt?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. I have 7:01 and we have a quorum. Welcome, everyone. I think there's a few people that may still join. 3 of them. All right. So I sent the link late last night. I already apologized to a few people. Sorry about that. I did get the information Tuesday. And then one thing led to another. So I sent the link late. There is a chance that we may vote on some of the excuse me, some of the budgets tonight, provided folks are comfortable with that. The school committee, the school department, I'm hoping to check with you all tonight about possibly meeting with them next Thursday. That is school vacation week, so I'll ask about that. But they are in negotiations this evening and we're unavailable, so. But you see the agenda, any public participation? Seeing none. All right, we have minutes from last meeting, March 30, 2023, Finance Committee meeting minutes should be within the link.
I'll move approval.
Okay.
Dan and Dawn, thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of accepting the regular committee meeting minutes, March 30, 2023?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All righty. So the vocational school should be here, Steve, correct?
No, Kevin's gonna handle it.
I see.
It's very benign, actually.
Yeah, I read it over. All right, so we have revised information for assessing department, inspections, recreation, and library. Is that right? So we have seen these before and now they're
Yes, you've seen these before. Unfortunately, when you saw them, the supervisors union contract had not been settled. And all of these union budgets have members of that union in it. So where the bulk of the supervisor and are in the DPW union, which you've already seen that budget, and that already reflected the contractual agreement. The assessors, inspectional services, recreation, library, the budgets that you saw early on the process did not. This is the professional, what is it actually called? I call it the supervisors union, but it's called the professional supervisory union. It is kind of a mishmash across all departments, including the library. Inspectional services has all our inspectors in it. It was a union that was set up years and years ago, way before my time, and has seemed to have worked well. So I kind of haven't have messed with it. I'm actually very pleased with this contract. It is for 3 years. It's cost of living increases of 2.5%. Additional steps added at one of them was at 2.5. They must have got me in a bad day. The others at 1.5 and 1.5. 2% longevity after 15 years, which affected a few of the people, none of them tonight, but we do want to keep our people longer. And some reclassifications of some people, particularly in the building department, as they are going crazed and have already brought in over $1 million in fees this year when we budgeted 600,000. So these are what you have in front of you. You could actually just look at them as a group or go forward on them. The increases on this these in front of you include, you know, other people maybe in that division, in that particular budget that were already had raises in there. So they're actually all pretty benign. If all our unions come in like this, I'll be thrilled. I tend
good.
not to think so.
So you said 2.5 COLA and some adjustments to certain steps. Is that how you
Yeah,
described that?
extra steps at the end, additional steps. At
Well,
1.5, as you know, that I try to keep, although one of them is 2.5, I try to keep my steps at 1.5, which is, you know, where the details come into the road.
So then there's some supervisors here that got increases then, right?
Yes, Scott Morrison would be on that one.
Mm-hmm. But not Evans?
No, she's clerical.
Got it.
And Victor is off the scale because of the tri-board agreement.
Right. All right, Kevin doesn't need to really add to that then, I don't think, correct?
Unless he wants to.
Nope, that's good.
I'll open it up for discussion.
So
Any-
Steve, what's the incremental increase from what we reviewed before overall?
For all of them combined, it's 20,000 or so. In the assesses, it's $2,448.
Okay,
There being one person. And that
And
was
that's for-
actually, that was actually an upgrade.
That was for a total of 7 people in that supervisory group.
Yeah.
Within these 4 budgets.
Across the 4 budgets, yep. So $2,000 in this budget, is that what I heard you say?
2,448.
Okay, great. Let me write that down. Any comments on this one then from the rest of the group? Okay. Seeing none. Inspectional services. So this has a 4% markup, correct? From last time we saw it.
I did not do the impact of that one is $10,336. That's 3 people in
I'm
that.
sorry, I wrote down 2%, 4%, 4%, and 8%, or is that, what did you just rattle off those 4 numbers?
Cost of living increases of 2.5% per year.
Yeah.
Additional steps at 2.5, 1.5, 1.5 at the end of the scales. And after 15 years, a longevity of 2%.
Yep.
I think no one that you're looking at tonight has been here
Right.
long enough to get the longevity.
And are there any supervisors in this group right here?
Yes, the building commissioner,
Yep.
the plumbing and the electrical inspector.
Sorry, one more time. The change from what we saw was 10,000?
10,336 total in this budget. There was also an upgrade of the building inspector, of the plumbing inspectors to step 12, to supervisor step 12. So there was to a higher level. Step 12 is where they were now. So they went to step 13.
So that's
Any
about 2.3% above what we saw last month.
Yes, I'd say that sounds right.
Total budget increase for this budget was 6.3, correct? Is that still accurate?
Yeah.
6.5, sorry. Okay. Anyone, questions, comments? Excuse me. Okay. Recreation.
Recreation. And the increase in this budget from what you saw was $3,107. One person.
And that's Daniel.
And more duties that I'll discuss at a later date offline.
All right. No longevity again for him, right?
No, no. I hope someday.
Yeah. Comments from the group? Okay. Everybody would rather be outside. That's all right. Library is next. Now, Dan may have some comments on this one.
I doubt it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. How much did the library go up?
$4,326 was two employees there.
As Catherine and Jackie?
Exactly. Yep.
No, not Catherine.
Not Catherine?
No,
No, Jackie and
Stephanie?
Stephanie.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, what was
Stephanie
that
is-
increase?
Wait a minute. Stephanie is an S8.
Yeah, supervisors, yes. So yes,
As the office assistant? Wow, okay.
yeah, I know, I told you, this was a interesting, people that have been in this union for years, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Predates me, Dan.
Yeah, I got no problem with it.
Sorry, and the increase in this budget from last time, Steve, again, please?
$4,326.
Comments about this one? Anyone?
Did we see them before? Did we see them this year?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we did.
I must have missed that meeting. Not that, I mean, I'm not looking to grill them. I just was, I didn't feel like normally they send the whole posse of people, so I didn't
Yeah.
remember that.
Oh, they did. They had 25 people, Doug. You missed it.
Okay. Moving right along. Brings us to the vote. Kevin, do you want to share, or how would you like to handle it? What's your pleasure? I know we have a PowerPoint I have available, but
No, I'll just read off what we're recommending for next year and what the changes are. For fiscal 24, we're recommending an increase to this budget of $88,630. The changes are this budget is made up of actually 3 vocational schools. We got the Minuteman, Northeast Regional, and Essex North. Essex North is, I'm sorry, Northeast Regional is being increased $21,502. Little over a 1% increase. There are 5 less students for next year. We have 106 students there this year. They're planning on 101 there next year. There is also a decrease in the debt service payment. This current year, it was 151,000. That's dropping down to 135,000 for fiscal 24. But overall, our assessment to the Northeast Regional is going up 21,502. The Minuteman Regional, we have 1 student there this year. We budgeted 0. Next year, I'm not anticipating any students at the Northeast Regional. I'm sorry, at the Minuteman Regional.
That student is a senior.
Correct, right. We'll be graduating. Essex North, total increase of $53,243. We have 10 students there this year. We only had 7 budgeted. When I spoke with the staff up at Essex North, where we are out of district, they told us we'd be very lucky if we got 1 student accepted. We'd hit the lottery if we got 2. Well, we hit the lottery multiple times. We ended up with 4 additional students there in fiscal 23. 1 will be graduating this year. So I'm budgeting for 1 additional for next year for the total increase of $53,243. In the addition to the transportation costs of $13,885, that's all for the students going to Essex North. Total budget requests, 251,945.
I know that Kevin may have mentioned this before when the question was asked about reserve fund transfers potential. We will be coming forward with one for this budget because of the extra students at the Essex North, which is going to be around 85,000, I think. So, geez, had we had that in the budget last year, we would be almost level funded.
Right.
We had that before. And I bet Dan Sherman probably likes that 1.07% increase on a big school budget, huh?
Yep.
Yes, that's impressive. I would agree. And Kevin, thank you.
One more caveat, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
We
go ahead.
don't have the final chapter 70 and the final transportation reimbursement for the vocational schools yet. So that the number could change a little bit because of that, and we're not going to know that, I would say, until June. Just because the way the state has going. I know that the House Ways and Means put their budget forward as of 6:45 tonight. It still is not in the it still is not up in the Division of Local Services. So when I do get that, I'll send that out to you so you can see the next step, but there's a long way to go.
Well, Steve, there's another $30 per student. On
Yeah.
Chapter 70.
I'm gonna wait until I see it. I hope I didn't already get it.
So the other thing I just put up for you was on the link was from the schools, from the Northeast schools, a very thorough explanation of things, talking about their additions and the fact that they got an extra, I don't know, 700 from chapter 70, maybe, is that what I read? But anyway, a pretty good breakdown, obviously, throughout this document. So that was there for your use. So, yeah, chapter 70, so they got 1.3 change right here, Steve. 1.3 mil.
Yeah, that's what they're anticipating.
Yeah. And then they had debt services going down, et cetera. Steve, Kevin kind of covered it, but pretty thorough in here as well. It was a PDF. So Dan, your hand is up.
Yeah, so I got a couple of questions. On that presentation on page 4, they seem to highlight, the yellow highlighted, a bond anticipatory of 1.7 million. So for me, I guess I was thinking that for that 1.7 million charge for bonds for the new Voc, for whatever reason, I was thinking that the charges for that those bonds was going to start in 25 and ratchet. I assume they're going to do the same thing that we're doing for our high school in the sense of only issuing bonds as the money is needed. So over time, it will slowly increase. But Steve, do you understand where that 1.7
Yeah,
goes? What's
yeah,
going on there?
I think that that's what they are doing, Dan. I think they are, because they are doing plans and paying for stuff there. So I think that's what they are doing. I think that bond anticipatory is probably a bond anticipatory note. It's probably a ban.
Yeah. So is that 1.7 part of this year's budget?
Yes,
is.
I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan,
Yeah.
the amount for that, for the town of Wakefield is 135,624, and that's included in the overall increase of 21,502 that I stated earlier.
So that capital debt assessment of 135,624, I see for Wakefield. Oh yeah, totals 1,737,000. Okay, I see how it links in.
Okay.
So what's going to happen in 25? How much are we going to go up?
I think it was it 800,000 a year, Steve? Is that what I remember?
Based on the total, we're about at 8% of the population, right?
Right.
So the good thing about vocational schools regarding debt is that it is strictly per capita. There's no, chapter 70 following your students there. I don't know what their bonding schedule is gonna be. I think that it's a little bit slower because it's taking a little bit longer to get the approvals everywhere, assuming they get them. So I would assume that we go up a little bit next year on it, but probably not to that 600 or 800,000 at the end of the day that we kind of worked way into the forecast, I think, Dan, way down the end. So
Yeah,
I think we got a few
Okay.
more years to get there.
yeah. So it's just 135,000 for 24, and who knows what 25 looks like.
Right.
And if they get delayed and if things don't work out for them, the 135 may end up, well, it won't go away. They'll still assess us, but then now they've got some additional cash.
Right.
They'll have to reconcile that down the road.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
All right, Ed, you had your hand up, but you're all set, I assume, or?
I'm all set.
Thank you. Anybody else comments on Northeast or the other folks? In the Minuteman, do they specialize in something versus the others? Steve, do you know?
That is supposedly the reason why someone should be able to go there, right?
They learn how to fire muskets.
Yeah.
So
There may be some little idiosyncrasy that makes it a little different, but it's supposed to be a differentiation where Essex North certainly is a lot more veterinary, and that's completely different than
Right.
this one. So
Yep.
I
This-
do
this-
know that the school, the Voc up the hill has been very good about fighting that because they don't want to lose the kids either.
The one thing I can say about Essex North is they have a very impressive campus.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Middleton campus?
Yeah, it is. It's really nice. I mean,
Yeah.
next to the prison, but or the jail, not the prison. Next to the jail and the hockey and the nice new hockey rink. So
Great. Yep.
And don't forget the ice cream shop right nearby.
All right, on that note. It's a good spot. You ought to check it out, exactly. That covers the budgets, right, Kevin?
That's correct.
You only have one budget left, Mr. Chairman.
So, just some backdrop on the schools, so, again, they were negotiating tonight, they had some negotiations scheduled. Then they asked to be bumped on this date, you know, obviously, my desire was for them to come tonight. And, then we have, some vacations mixed in between Doug Lyons and Juan Lyons to meet for each year representing the budget, so anyway, they're not here tonight. But I'll send you an email tonight. I'm looking to find out if you're available and interested in doing it next Thursday night. The schools would come Thursday night. And then we would vote the following week on remaining items and those sorts of things. So again, it's school vacation week next week. So I don't have children that age anymore, so I tend not to travel that week. But any of you might be. If that's the case, we can do it on like the following Monday or something. So send an email, a couple of choices. Let me know your choice. Appreciate that. Sorry about the delay.
I mean, you've got something weird going on with your mic. but-
Me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right now? No.
It's feedback.
Yeah, it's like almost like you're sort of a higher pitched Darth Vader.
Yeah. I agree.
Turn the
Brandon,
Bruins.
is that any better?
Turn the Bruins live feed off, Jim.
Yeah, I know. Can you hear me? My Comcast is awful. I have to tell you that. If people have Comcast, I'd like to see how that's going for people. Can you hear me all right or not? No?
No, it's not getting any better, Jim.
You could try muting and unmuting. That might reset it.
Thank you. Any better?
No,
Nope, sorry.
I'll talk less. Steve, we have articles you want to review, or is it you? or
Yes,
Kevin?
we can do some articles for you guys as well. The first article would be the debt service article. This is the article where we pay our existing bonds You know, whether they be debt exclusions for the Galvin school and or the regular bonds that we have for many of other projects, public safety building, schools that have been completed, fire trucks, public safety building, athletic fields, things like that. This is pretty consistent with last year's number. And the way this works out is we pay into the debt service account fund, which I think Dan Sherman was around when we began this, or was this even before you?
It was before me.
Yeah, it was before me too, and really was a brilliant move. I think was Bill Kilmartin, who worked for the DOR, that put this together for us years ago.
And Phil McCarty was a big proponent.
Yeah. So what we do is we take, there's $1 million that comes that is appropriated without town meeting appropriation. So at town meeting, we will ask for a $4.3 million or $4,337,400. And of that, $2,479,660 is for the debt exclusion for the new Galvin school, or for the existing Galvin school, and $2,857,740, and that's probably where your $60 was off, Dan, when we were doing this morning. I think I had 800 there instead of 6,740, and that is for all of our other remaining bonds. Very similar to what we had last year. The really neat thing about this, if we do follow course, you know, Kevin will still be here in 2050 when there's about 21 million available in the account for the next project. But I tend to think that Kevin and I will both be gone.
Yeah.
If you can hear me.
Yeah, Steve, so curious, have we gone out to market? Or when do you plan to do that? I'm curious to see what rates we're gonna be getting.
We probably are gonna do some banning this
In May or, yeah,
in May or June.
Yeah.
I think, Kevin, we may be going out in September. But that may be pushed until January of next year, depending on the construction schedule at the
Right.
high school. You know,
so
with the-
I guess my question is, does this number reflect what you estimate the van to be? I'm assuming this is short and long-term borrowing, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is what we know now. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
whatever yes,
Okay,
yes. And on the high school, that's gonna be a debt exclusion anyway.
right,
Yeah.
of course, yeah, okay, thank you.
We couldn't do it any other way.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and as long as we're on the debt service fund, I'm gonna put in another request from Kevin to send me the latest and greatest version of his spreadsheet so I can put together the presentation for our dog and pony.
Okay. Kevin will be happy to do that.
He always is.
We have to pick a date for that too. When I get back from vacation, we'll pick one.
Yep, that's fine.
Right. Light department?
All right, light department, this is the
Sorry,
payment.
sorry, excuse me. Any other questions on the debt service? If you can hear me. Good. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, light department is the payment in lieu of taxes. Last February, a letter was sent to Chair Sullivan outlining what the light department was going to pay us for the next through fiscal year 27. And our installment for fiscal year 24 is $960,015 per that letter, which is 1.5% more than the previous fiscal year.
It should be 2.5.
No, I'm just reading what it says.
It'd be 4 million, Dan.
Yes, I like Doug's Butler.
I like your number, Doug.
Any questions on that? People familiar with it?
It doesn't do us any good.
Yeah.
Dennis and myself, and I think someone else had a subcommittee about 4 or 5 years ago, pushed them a little bit. We did a study. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
We did a study, came back with a study, comparing themselves to other municipal light departments, gas and light departments in the region. And their board voted to do things this way. Yeah, that's the story. And again, they're good stewards and they do things for the town, but many of us feel that number could be quite a bit higher. Got any other comments? Next one.
The next one is police and fire indemnification, and that is out of free cash. For those of you keeping score at home. It's for $65,000, and this is for payment of medical bills for injuries sustained on duty by our police and fire department. We add to this article seems like every year or so. And it's $65,000, $55,000 is police, $10,000 is fire.
No, other way.
Oh, 55 fire and 10 police, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Just for a point of reference, Jim, if this money is appropriated into the indemnification accounts for police and fire, both police and fire will have approximately a current balance in their account of just under 15,000 each.
Adding this in, covering the 65, they'll have 15,000 each, is that what you implied?
That's correct.
Right. After all those bills are paid.
Correct.
Are these bills going through by our consultant? Similar
Yes.
to-
Yes,
Yes.
as well as HR and me. To look at every one of them.
Dan?
yeah, so as a point of reference, I just pulled up the history of this, this article. Going back to 2005 to 2009 is like less than 10 grand, and we went 4 years without putting anything in the account. In 14, we put in 40,000. In 16, we did 25, and in 18, we did 20. So from fiscal 19 through 23, we didn't put a dime in under this account in any article until this year. We're putting 65,000. So we've had a lot of zeros until now, which I find interesting. So that account has been pretty solid for quite a long time.
Dan, I think we actually did put in quite a bit. I'm not sure if it was last year or a year and a half ago. There was one person that that was dealing with cancer and doing cancer treatments that was quite expensive. And I think we did.
Maybe was it a reserve fund?
I don't believe it was. I'll double check and I'll get back to you on that. But there was one big increase. I think it was like a year or a year and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my records don't show that, but okay. I trust you on that one. Must have been categorized as something different.
Okay. Last one is medical consultants.
Medicaid consultant. Kevin, you want to do this one? I think this
Okay,
is your
sorry.
favorite one.
Sure. The Medicaid consultant, last time we did this article was in June of 2020. We asked for $10,000. Each year we spend between $5,000 and $10,000 with a consultant that the school sends them files with regards to sped costs for some of their students. The consultant goes through it, submits the information to Medicare, and we get reimbursed from Medicare for certain expenses. Fiscal year to date for the current year, Medicaid reimbursements have come in at 194,000. Last year, fiscal 22, it came in 312,000. Fiscal 21, it was 114,000. So for a short amount of money, we're getting a real nice return. So like to keep that going. This 25,000 should last us probably like 2.5 to 3 years.
Good, thanks. And
Kevin, that's general fund revenue, correct? Doesn't go to the
That's-
school department.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to establish that. Thanks.
We get something.
Yep.
I knew that was your question then.
any other comments on those? Okay. So if we were to do voting, Steve, somebody provided me this sheet.
Wait, just a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Item 13, there's a comment regarding favorable action on MWRA I&I grant. Is that supposed to be discussed today, or we could do that later?
I think that Joe Conway discussed that at when he did his budget and his articles, you know, trash and in
On the sewer.
on the, yeah, trash. And so what this is, you know, going through the MWRA and for a grant / loan of 1.3 million, of which 75% or 982,000 represents the grant portion, and 25% or 327,000 represents the loan portion. And this is used by the town for the town's infiltration inflow removal program,
Right,
which of course all saves us money on the sewer end because it doesn't get into the pipe going out of town.
right. No, I get, okay, so Joe did go through that. I do remember that, that piece. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay, all right,
Exactly.
thank you.
While we're talking about this, maybe I'll have a contract before town meeting. I don't think we'll need to come to the FinCom for supplemental appropriations, but if I do, we have time for a couple more meetings. I hope we're not, I wouldn't mind meeting right before town meeting if I had a contract to bring in front of you for either fire or police, but I don't think I will.
Thank you for the update. All right, so do we want to try to go through some of these then? That's on the agenda for budgets and articles, Steve?
Yeah, it's whatever you want to do, Mr. Chairman, we can do it.
For the articles, all of these are ones that we would be able to vote on tonight, correct?
Well, except for police and fire.
Well, there's no line item for either one of those, 10 and 11, I'm sorry, but can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Jim, I have a question.
Let's see.
Can you vote that sheet as presented, or do you have to go through each individual one?
I'd be all right voting it as presented. We normally have gone through the individual one where there's
If
money coming from different avenues.
If you'd
Yeah.
like, you can vote as presented to be recorded individually. And if it's all unanimous, it would be fine.
So
I think that's the question. It's kind of like a consent agenda.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, a parliamentary inquiry, do we, and whoever, you know, whether it's Steve or Kevin or you, Mr. Chairman, what, you can answer it, whoever has the answer can answer it, but don't we need the language in front of us, the actual language of the article, not just the spreadsheet?
You've always voted in the past based on the spreadsheet because you're recommending where the money is coming from. So for instance, in capital outlay, the motion will be to expend, 2.2 million from tax levy, 667 from water retained earnings, 477 from sewer retained earnings pursuant to the article in the recommendation book.
I'm gonna is Joe Bertrand on this call?
No, he's not.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, so we have used, Evan, we have used it as you described, I'm comfortable with how we described it, because we have not read the entire, article from the book, at this stage.
All right. Yeah, my thought was that, ultimately what we're voting to recommend at town meeting is the actual language of the article, right? So, but, okay.
Well, you're really recommending the dollar amounts.
Yeah.
Well, but then
Right,
the
so,
ordinance is read, right, at town meeting, and then, Jim Sullivan stands up and says the finance committee recommends favorable action. It's not a big, I guess, a clerical thing. Ultimately, this is what matters, but okay.
So I'm gonna make a recommendation that we go through each one, and I'll be happy to play Joe tonight if the rest of the committee wants to vote on these articles.
yeah, I would recommend we do that, and I was gonna have, either you do it or I'll put Doug Butler on the spot as your co-chair, but, you volunteered.
I volunteer. All right, so for Article 2, my motion
Is there any,
is,
sorry, excuse me. Is there any other questions or comments before we start?
Other than I owe Dan a beer.
Dan, go right ahead.
All right, so I will make a motion that for capital outlay, that we recommend $2,239,875 of tax levy, $667,000 from water enterprise account, and $477,000 from the sewer enterprise account for the purposes of Article 2 capital outlay.
Point of honest on that, Dan.
Yeah, point of order, the-
For water and sewer, if you could say retained earnings.
Oh, from retained earnings. Yes, I got it.
For
Yes.
water and sewer.
Yeah, we don't want to make the same mistake Steve did.
Yes. You guys made it all along with me.
Yes, from retained earnings. Thank you, Kevin.
all right, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second,
Whoever said second.
I'm gonna say Dennis Hogan was first.
Any discussion? Motion before you is for, Article 2 capital outlay, which would result in $2,239,875 tax levy, $675,000 from the, water retained earnings, and $477 from the, shore retained earnings. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Are you opposed? Anyone? Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, Article 3, debt service fund. My motion is to spend $4,337,400 from tax levy for purposes of Article 3.
Second,
Very good. You've heard the motion before you. Any discussion on the motion? Very good. Article 3, motion before you, debt service fund, use from tax levy, $4,333,337,400. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. Motion carries. Thank you.
Article 4 for the Wakefield, Mass. Light Department payments in lieu of taxes. My motion is to spend $960,015 from available funds.
second from ML,
MLD receipts.
From it, okay.
Any discussion on the, Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department pilot? All those in favor of Article 4 for the Wakefield Municipal Gas Light Department pilot?
Aye.
Available funds, $960,015 from the MLD receipts. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
So for Article 6, police and fire indemnification, my motion is to spend $65,000 from free cash, $10,000 for the police, $55,000 for fire.
second,
Any discussion on Article 6 as described? All right, the motion before you is for Article 6, police fire identification, the amount of $65,000 for free cash, $10,000 for police, and $55,000 for fire. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Very good.
For Article 7, eminent domain, my motion is to spend a whopping $1 from tax levy for purposes of Article 7.
second,
Thank you. Discussion? My only discussion is we should have had, Doug do that one. All those in favor of Article 7 for an eminent domain for $1? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Article 8, trash collection. My motion is to spend $2,370,747 from tax levy.
second,
Any discussion on trash collections? Being none, motion before you, trash collections, Article 8 is for $2,370,747 coming from tax levy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
For Article 9, Medicaid consultant, my motion is to spend $25,000 from free cash for purposes of Article 9.
second,
Got any discussion on Article 9, Medicaid consultant? Seeing none, motion before you, Article 9, Medicaid consultant. The amount of $25,000 be coming from free cash. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And
Oh.
then, go ahead.
Article 13, I'm going to recommend favorable action
Yes,
for the MWRA I&I grant
yes, and loan.
and loan.
Was there a second?
second,
Dennis, thank you. Anything, discussion on the MWRA I&I, grant and loan? Okay, Article 13, all those, the motion before you, Article 13 for MWRA is, favorable action. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Okay, very good. That covers, articles. Thank you. So this is, where gets. So Steve, we have voted these by group and discussed them by group as well. I'd be looking to do that again unless there's some objection to that.
Correct.
Is it safe to assume that all these numbers have been updated with the supervisor's contract?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so what I would recommend then is we're gonna take the budgets, as you see, like general government would be one line item that'll get motioned, and then we'll talk about it as we feel necessary on an individual basis. Police, the next group for protection, we would not vote on, Steve, or are we voting on that?
Yep, it's each one there you could vote on if you so choose. They're all completed.
But like police, fire, protection,
Because of the contracts?
or do we vote on them and then amend it?
No, those would be a separate article at town meeting at this point.
So we can vote on what we see, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then we'll do human services, DPW, water and sewer, library, schools, vocation is all right. And that's it. The schools are not on this, correct?
They are not.
And that's a good thing.
so this will be the pressure on if we vote it.
Put pressure on Steve?
No, in the school department.
I hope it does.
No,
Okay.
Dennis is advocating to vote on it as found to date, I think. I don't know.
So, Mr. Chairman, should I go ahead and start with total general government?
Yes, please. I just wanted to walk through it if you would. Thank you.
Okay, great. So under general government, my motion is to recommend tax levy spend for $2,785,321 of tax levy, 4,500 from available funds, for a grand total of $2,789,821.
Second,
Very good. Motion before you was on the total general government. Any discussion?
Mr.
Anyone?
Chairman, I'm not sure how to do this. However you want to do it, but I just want to separate out the town council budget and make a motion to amend that recommendation. So I can either divide the question or I can reduce the total appropriation by the amount I was going to move for the town council.
Can I just?
Yep.
I mean, you're welcome to do it, Evan, but you'd be reducing tax levy. You can't reduce ARPA. That's completely town council purview.
It's not subject to appropriation at the town meeting?
No. That is completely, the treasury rules are, ARPA is completely under the, so in our case, the town council's purview. Sorry. I do think it's worthy of comments and I get your point, but
Yeah.
you know.
So I would say if you're all right, Evan, we would open discussion on the total general government, and then I think it's appropriate to discuss the line item resulting in a change in the line item and a change in the total as a proposed motion. Would that work?
It's fine with me. Yeah, whatever you think, Mr. Chairman.
But again, you're reducing tax levy. So I don't know how I'm gonna pay the other positions in that budget.
Well, but
Yeah, I don't know that he's ready to do that. I think it's open to have some dialogue.
Right. I just want to make that point.
So the
So
new,
again,
so the new position for 50,000 is
100.
proposed, 100,000 is all ARPA money?
Correct.
Yes, the last time we reviewed this budget, which was, I think was last meeting, it was updated. Steve had gone back to town council. I could find that if you like, and I could do that, but I believe it was $1,000. The greeters were taken out.
Right.
And the new position was added using all opera money for year one.
Correct.
And year two?
Not in this budget.
Yeah, we're setting ourselves up for failure here.
Exactly.
All right, so hands are up. Just Evan, if you would hold your thought or raise your hand, please. Stefan.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. I know we have previously talked in the past about I guess closing the books, so to speak, on our budget as we've gone through our forecast. I just want to clarify though that this is we're voting here on the tax levy, not necessarily on that particular topic. Voting to a point to close the books, essentially.
Sorry, can you explain that a little bit more, what you meant?
Yeah, so I guess there, like we just voted on an article on capital outlay, and during our review of the budget forecast, capital was a particular item that we would go back and take a look at and potentially reduce in order to balance the budget, depending on how final receipts were coming in, and a number of other balls that are still up there as they fall. I just want to make sure that what we're doing here today is not going to hamstring us for potential adjustments that we may need to make in the future.
And by future, you mean before town meeting this spring?
That's correct, yes.
Oh, and
Especially
next
if we have
fall.
a sizable balance.
Well, yeah.
We can
sizable-
also, we can also amend in the fall.
Okay.
But to your point, for capital, we just voted unanimously on the capital for the article, right? So that'll be put forth as favorable action for that amount.
Right.
Is that okay, Stefan? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking?
Yep. But I think that there's probably other areas as well that I believe that we had brought up as well. I think a number of the budgets have significant overtime included in them. Yeah, I guess, we're voting, I guess, in these large categories. I think that's fine by me, but I just wanted to throw that out there that we are, that this is the purpose. This is essentially what we're doing. We have the ability to make adjustments to these figures as time marches on.
Yeah, we do. And a good example was a few years ago in October, the state cut back. The governor did, I don't remember what section of the law, but he,
9C.
9C, that's it, 9C cuts. And we had to go back and make adjustments in the November fall meeting to some of the budgets to deal with that 9C cut. So yeah, we can still amend.
Okay,
All right,
thank you. That answers it.
Evan, do you want to talk? Excuse
Yeah,
me.
I'm
am I-
a little, yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know we've made motions to amend recommendations in the past. It sounds like ARPA is a special case, Steve. Is that what I'm understanding? Because most funds are subject to appropriation or some other action from town meeting, right?
I think you can, yes, that is true,
All right.
but ARPA is not.
So I was going to reduce the town council. I was going to recommend a number that is $100,000 less than what we're recommending for the town council budget. What I will do to save everybody's time, unless we really want to get into it with spinning motions around to amend, I will vote no on the total sum. And if we really want to get into splitting it out, we can do that. But unless there's a sort of majority desire to explore that, then I don't want to waste your time with motions and such like that. So I would just vote no if that saves everybody's time.
All right, Ed.
Yeah, so procedurally, so of course I fully know and understand that opera is under the executive branch. But does the committee not have the power to at least make a resolution? I know I'm at any point in time on, say, the opera. It may not have power or meaning, but it is a statement to be made. Steve?
I think you
So-
always have the ability to make a
To
statement.
resolve. So as opposed to cutting something from the tax levy here, the committee could resolve or make a recommendation through resolution that that $100,000 be not appropriated from ARPA or be appropriated for some other, say, capital reason or something like that. I didn't know what role we would have. I know we have the role here on the levy and these available funds, but as you said, we have the power to make a resolution if we so chose. Would that
Yeah,
be before the town meeting, Steve?
I think you could certainly make that statement at town meeting in your recommendation. Yes,
Right,
Okay.
but
so
it would not be voted on, I don't think. They'd be going to vote on the
No,
budget.
it would not have power. It would be no power. Legislative branch can't. Opera is under the executive branch. I do know that, of course. But it's a statement to be made if the committee felt that that 100,000 should not be spent out of opera, because eventually it's going to be on the general fund. You're right. The next year it's going to be on the budget.
That's right. And that's the problem. That's why I mean, I agree with you. I agree with Evan. I agree with you, Ed, is that we should make a statement at town meeting in our recommendation that we disagree with spending ARPA money for this new position because it's going to hurt us on a long-term basis.
right, so just I did have a little dialogue with Steve about the town council budget because I was not happy about it either. And there are a couple of ways to do it, as you describe. I'm more than happy when we come to announcing the general fund. Make an additional statement about it that, we recommend favorable action. We have these concerns. I'm always trying, I would always also try to be about consistency. So I would look at that a little harder across all budgets and just be fair and equitable to all, depending upon where else it exists. But clearly this one was one that really concerned me because practicing what you preach, the executive branch was not really leading with their right foot as far as I was concerned, so. Doug.
Yep, I got you.
Thanks, bud.
I'm not as fast as I used to be. No, just in terms of if Evan got let's say Evan put forth a motion to reduce the tax levy, the funds available from tax levy by 100,000 to 397, 320. I mean, I guess the question is, does that then, this ARPA money that we're spending for this new, whatever, the economic director, or whatever we're calling the position, does that then, like, reducing that budget by $100,000? Now that Steve was saying, like, oh, I'd have to scramble to find where I could actually fund the other positions, or they could change their mind on spending ARPA money on that position, right?
Correct. But remember, the motion will be the town council's motion. It's the FinCom recommendation. So the motion.
So we would have to do an amendment saying we should think they should reduce their amount by 100,000.
Exactly, on the floor, right.
Whether the amendment carried, and then if the amendment carried, which is an interesting call, that'd be like that's 50-50 ball, I think, at town meeting. And
remember that ARPA amount is not on the town meeting floor. So what?
No, I know that, but if we reduced it by 100,000, then they either hire the economic director and really piss you off because now you've got to figure out what to do, how to, squeeze 100,000 out of your budget, or they don't hire the director.
Well, no. I mean,
No, it's worse than that.
Worse than that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because remember this, the budget before you does not include that position in terms of money.
Right.
So if we reduce this by 100,000, he'd have to let somebody go. Like, for example, I'm looking at Jennifer McDonald at 99,438. So Steve would have to cut our social media specialist,
Which
in
I would
order
not
to
do.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just giving you an example that he'd have to reduce a position. And the town council could still hire a director of strategic growth and development by using ARPA money.
That's right.
So you'll be exchanging, let's say, Jennifer for some strategic growth person.
Right, or the town council could opt to hire Jennifer back.
They could opt to use 200,000 in ARPA.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, they have ARPA money. They can,
I don't
they
think
can
it's
keep
a winning
going.
strategy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I was just trying to figure out what the ramifications would be.
You're
I could
welcome.
time. That could
Sorry,
be.
Ev, I'm not voting with you on this one, but
You're not offending me.
Joseph. Welcome.
Jim, thanks. Sorry, I had a permanent building committee meeting.
Yep.
The question I know regarding this, there was one suggestion that we have a resolution. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I kind of jumped in the middle here.
Yeah, so what Evan brought up maybe before you got here was about, reducing the budget or making an amendment to this budget because we're looking at them across the total general government. That's how the discussion started. And then we went into the fact that it's ARPA money handled and distributed by the executive branch. So reducing the budget doesn't necessarily reduce that money allocated for the position. And that's when the dialogue has gone on that you probably jumped in on.
Yes.
About the ability for me or us to say at the end of the, a favorable action for the general government, we can make a statement about the fact that the ARPA money is being used for a new position, which will ultimately end up, anyway, we can write it up in some fashion that would probably be acceptable to us to be able to be stated. I'd be very happy to do that.
Is there any way we can add to the resolution and let people know that even if you do approve it, or if you do, you use the ARPA money, that the finance committee has no intention of paying for it next year with another 100,000, that we will not support the position next year?
I don't know that I'd go out to next year, but
I mean, it's a way to.
Yeah, I get it. There's our understanding, and we all know, ARPA can has to be allocated by the end of 24. So they could certainly fund it again next year for 105 grand, I suppose, Steve, correct? And then eventually they'd have no more opera, Joe, and then it goes
Right.
to the fund, right? So,
I mean, I'm just saying that somehow in the resolution, we could add that we
Right.
do.
And then the person's 2 years here and we don't want to fire them at that point.
no, but you're right, Joe. It can be worded in
Oh.
any number of fashions. I'm not against it, but I'm not looking to be threatening per se, I guess, either. That's all.
Oh, I like to threaten. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I'm in for threats.
Yeah, Dan has been threatening a long time. I just think it should be done. I really do. I just find this.
No problem.
I've sat on this thing for not a lot of years. And, from a planner to economic, I just don't see it. I don't see it's a waste of $100,000 ARPA money in my view. But that's,
Understood. And I think there are a number of people that completely agree, and I'm one of them. Teray.
Thank you. I just want to clarify. So I'm looking at the budget. I had to pull it up because I was a little confused about the numbers. This number that we're going to be voting on today, a little over $497,000, does not include the $100,000 for that ARPA position. Okay, so we're not being asked to make a formal vote because it's outside of our jurisdiction per what everyone's been saying tonight.
I would say
All right.
on the
Yeah,
budget, that's correct. Yeah.
So from my perspective, I think it's fine to make a statement at town meeting. I'm just concerned that it's going to confuse the public. We're making a recommendation to the town meeting body, who's our legislative body, but I'm concerned that us making a recommendation saying they shouldn't be spending the money may confuse people into thinking that that's built into that fee, the appropriation displayed on the screen. And there may be the whole issue of people trying to remove the $100,000 from the tax levy budget. That's what concerns me. But I think making a statement, we need to also make that clear, because I started to get confused. That's why I was like, I need to pull the budget up and look at it again. And it looks like they actually do say less COVID ARPAs has deleted from the personal services line item. But I just wanted to make that point.
Right, and so correct, and so that potentially is going to happen with the school department, for example, right?
Yes.
So there's a potential for some ARPA money there, and I'd have to go back and look at the other budgets, but there's some ARPA money in and about. But I think the clear message here is brand new position, all ARPA, and eventually there's no more ARPA, and it's got to be covered by the tax levy.
Yep.
And I think, in a bulletized fashion and speaking about it, I'm comfortable we can get across those points. To your point, though, trying not to confuse the group, we approve it, but however, there's some use of the opera funds that, and anyway, I'll write it down a couple of times and probably, give an opinion on that, because we're basically saying, hey, you executive branch, you're misusing your money, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
exactly.
it's appropriate for us to, as finance committee. I just wanted to make sure, because I started to get confused. I was worried about the public at town meeting.
No, I'm leaning on the fence and I'm wobbling back and forth, believe me, but.
It's also a good thing in your forward, Jim, to remind you that you need to write that in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm such a good writer. I am planning on trying to put something in the forward about where we are in our spending to date in the opera money. I'll describe it as a windfall, much to my chagrin or something to that effect, but it is a cliff and it is coming quickly, to that effect. And that should also help with a message for those that may turn to that page and actually read it. So anyway. All right, so any other discussion before you on the motion for the total general government budget?
Jim?
Yes, sir. Dennis.
Could, seeing this position is not listed in the employee categories, don't they have to have an assigned position at $0 to them before they can create a position? Use the ARPA money? Doesn't it have to be a legitimate position in the town? If it's not a position,
The budget does have a position in it.
budget does have a position, but it's
Yeah.
not listed as that position, right? It was the old position. where
I
it's
think they gave it a new name. I mean, let's face it, Dennis, you're right. The mechanics are not done, right? They don't have a full job description and a rate level structure probably and those sorts of things, but I think this has been done like this in the past, maybe even
Yeah.
from town council.
There are job descriptions that are being compiled, or I kind of have a general idea what it's gonna be. But it is a listed position. It's not a union position, so there's no issue with that.
Jim, can I
Alright.
I initially, I forgot, honestly, I forgot about it being ARPA money, so I was gonna vote against it. If it's ARPA money, it doesn't impact this, so I'm not gonna vote against it, but are you hiring the position now, Steve? Because if it's ARPA money, you don't have to wait for town, meeting action on anything, right?
No, I won't hire it until the next fiscal year. You're right, I don't have to, but then I'm looking at more money. I mean, what if it's then I'm a year in, it's a 14-month position. Am I gonna need more than 100? I don't know. I'll hire it July 1,
Well, okay.
or I'll start putting it out to bid.
I guess those mechanics are being followed, Bill, right? So this is next year's budget, I guess, is
Right.
what's being stated, but right. Right. The ARPA money is at the discretion of the executive branch as described.
Correct.
Don,
Yeah, so Steve, do we know for certain that the intention is that this is ultimately going to become a permanent position? Or is the intention to bring somebody in using ARPA funds to help with the economic recovery following the public health emergency?
Well, I think the intention is that this will become, I think the intention at this point is that it will become a permanent position, but new board comes in, they could have a different view.
I think the current board has been looking for a way to do this, Don, for a number of years. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but it certainly feels like this has been something they've been. There was quite a debate when the old town planner, I think Steve, retired,
Yeah.
and then this other position was created, and there was talk of, anyway, there's talk of not needing that position at all, and now we're back to an additional position and an easy path for success, let's just say, for town council currently. Anybody else? All right, the motion before you is for voting on total general government, the amount of $2,785,321 coming out of tax levy, $4,500 from available funds, for a total amount of $2,789,821. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And if you are opposed, would you state your name?
Yeah, I'm voting no. Evan.
Thank
Kenny.
you. You didn't have to state it. I just didn't see you on the screen, so I'm sorry. By speaking, I could see you. That's what.
Oh, that's okay.
Because I got the document up. All right, so Steve, you got that vote count?
So Evan was the sole no,
That's what I understand.
correct? Okay, yep, thank you.
Hey, Jim, your mic's
I'm
back.
Steve.
My mic is back, so my son shut down his Xbox, or he's not on his phone or something.
Ah, that's what happened.
I'm
Okay.
guessing it's a bandwidth for sure. I don't know.
Okay, so on the total protection of persons and property, my motion is to recommend spending $14,031,311 from tax levy.
Okay,
Second by Dennis. Any discussion? Okay. The only thing I would say on these budgets is the overtime. I'm not sure. I mean, I believe there's a way to fix it, but it would be detrimental to the current workforce. And so I think management needs to continue to try to quote unquote manage it as best they can. And we always end up with this overtime because of the age of the workforce, either older age, younger age, or whatever it is. But it particularly in the fire department, there's a large amount of overtime, and it's unfortunate. But I think we keep adding a little bit to that budget line item, which is helpful, so you don't have to do an appropriation later or a transfer later. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else? All right, the motion before you, anybody else? That's it. Motion before you then is for total protection of persons and property in the amount of $14,031,311 from tax levy. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries.
For human services, my motion is to recommend spending $968,790 from tax levy.
Second.
Discussion. Motion before you then is for total human services in the amount of $968,790 to be taken from tax levy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay.
So for keep the public works.
Yeah.
Not item 29 and 30. My motion is to recommend spending $7,721,999 from tax levy, $98,570 from available funds, perpetual care, park trust, and sale of cemetery lots, for a total of $7,820,569.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion before you for DPW snow and ice?
Oh, DPW and snow.
Yeah, I said and just very quickly, sorry. All right, very good. For total public works budget, motion before you is for $7,721,999 from tax levy and $98,570 from available funds, which is from perpetual care, park trust funds, and sales of cemetery lots, for a total amount of $7,820,569. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Very good.
For water enterprise, motion is to recommend $7,229,715 from water receipts.
Second.
Any discussion on the water enterprise motion before you? Motion before you for water enterprise in the amount of $7,229,715 to be taken from the water receipts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
For sewer enterprise, motion is to recommend spending $9,344,988 from sewer receipts.
Second.
Discussion on the sewer enterprise. Motion before you for the sewer enterprise is for appropriation of $9,344,988, all to come from the sewer receipts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
For the
Thank you.
library, my motion is to recommend spending $1,871,449 from tax levy and $62,285 from the library trust funds, for a total spend of $1,933,734.
Second.
Any discussion on the total library funds budget? Okay, motion before you, total library in the amount of $1,871,449 from tax levy, $62,285 from available funds, which is library trust funds, for a total of $1,933,734. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
So for the total vocational schools, motion is to recommend spending $2,251,945 from tax levy.
Second. Dennis, did you second that?
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion. Very good. Motion before you for total vocational schools, the amount of $2,251,945 be taken from tax levy. All those in favor? To be funded from tax
Aye.
levy. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
For total unclassified, my motion is to recommend spending $2,107,387 from tax levy, $558,876 from available funds, cable TV fees, for a total of $2,666,263.
Second,
Any discussion on the total unclassified section? Very good. Motion before you for total unclassified, the amount of $2,107,387 from tax levy. $558,876 will be coming from available funds, which is the cable TV fees, for a total of $2,666,263. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good. Thank you.
For total benefits and administration, motion to recommend spending $20,145,295 from tax levy.
second,
Any discussion on total benefits administration? Very good. Motion before you, total benefits administration, the amount of $20,145,295 from tax levy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Very good.
And finally, total municipal light and department benefits. My motion is to spend $2,603,499 for purposes of covering insurance, retirement, and workers' comp for MLD employees.
That's from available funds.
Yes.
Yes.
MLD fund,
MLD funds.
Did you second that, Dennis?
yes,
Discussion. Motion before you then is for the total MLD benefits in the amount of $2,603,499 to be taken from available funds from the MLD funds for insurance, retirement, and workman's comp. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we just appropriated $71 million.
And Joe, you can have your job back next time.
You don't like it, huh?
Oh, I get there, but yeah, it's, but you're so good at it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Steve, this document was attached. Is this something we already covered?
That is, yes, that's actually the breakdown of the MLD, where they're going.
Got it.
Oh, that's
I
the
see.
2 million. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's his tie. Got it.
Very good. Okay, so that is typically this event would take place towards the end of our process, but since we haven't finished the schools, we will have one more vote to go through. But that covers most of the items that are going to go to town meeting, so that allows us to get a head start on a number of things. So at this point, I will, I believe, open it up for committee comments.
Jim, can I just ask, the school folks are gonna come back and do the whole shake and bake that we've already, kind of been through with them and seen all the, discussions, that have had played out in the press, and so we're just kind of one more time at what we've already heard with the changes that have been made as a result, I think primarily that initiated from this board of, using some of their funds and ARPA money to reduce the tax levy. I mean, that's what we're gonna hear? Nothing really more than that?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say correct. They will I would believe be able to explain how they're reducing the budget by the 500,000 and give us the full budget that we would vote on, right? everything you may have already read in the paper, maybe with
Not-
less detail or more detail.
Not really anything new to learn, I don't think, at the end of the day with this.
That would be correct. I would say it's a requirement and, yes.
Are they gonna be the only thing on the next agenda?
Yes, probably unless there's other, unless Steve settles some contracts in a hurry.
It won't be next week. Unless Kevin settles them while I'm gone, which he's welcome to.
And just one more thing related to the schools, is there in their budgets something plugged as contemplated for the union agreements? As opposed to like for police and fire, Steve, there's no projection in the budget you presented to us, but in theirs, am I right, Jim? Did they say that they have?
They have money in their budget that they believe will cover,
Okay,
the settling of the contract. You know, whether they're right or wrong, they have added money to their budget somewhere to, account for
but. you
settling
know,
year
but-
one of the contract.
And I would just remind, you know, at some point you say, well, what can you do about any of this stuff, quite frankly, but remind my fellow finance committee members that the last, you know, we're talking about this position from the town council using ARPA funds, the last school committee, and I don't know if it was unique or not, it was unique for me. In their contract agreements also included not only increases, but additional headcount. Negotiated additional positions as part of their contract negotiations with their unions last time, which resulted in, you know, when they came before us, not only increases, but more headcount. So, you know, that might not be visible to us in this cycle, but just be interesting if, you know, next year you're gonna say, well, you know, the budget's up by as a result of these 4 additional positions that were negotiated in last year's budget. I think that's a terrible precedent to set, but it's been set.
Right.
So
No, understood. I think when the
don't know if
budget gets,
Everybody's aware of that, but you know, and
Yep.
I don't know, you know, maybe one of you guys might speak to it differently, have been involved, but I
no, in
just
the
think,
last contract, you know, they had settled on additional positions. You're right. So if and when this contract gets settled, which I don't think it's gonna be, before town meeting, quite frankly, but that's just my opinion. I would be asking them, or we would ask them to just, you know, make clear what the stipulations are in the contract, which
Yeah.
they would be able to provide, correct? Anyway, that was, as you said, that's probably the first time in, I don't know how many years for those on this board, but
so I
have
think
additional
everybody should be aware of that if you're not aware of it.
correct.
They'll think
Correct.
it's minimum manning for education.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, it's a piece of the puzzle that sometimes is used to negotiate to get them to sign, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. It did happen, Bill. You're right on the money. Well, you know, well put. So. Dan,
Yeah, so I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about we had a forecasting committee meeting last week, and unfortunately I did not finish the minutes. But I thought maybe, given that we have virtually all of the budgets figured out and in place, I thought maybe I'd share my screen on the forecast if I can.
You
fine
have,
with that. Yep.
All right, here we go. Hopefully you guys can see this. So where we stand now, given, and I subtracted the 500,000 from the school budget, we have a deficit of $1.7 million. And on the forecast of free cash, we still go negative in fiscal year 26 unless things change. And we've spent quite a bit of time talking about what we can do to avoid going in the hole. Kevin described the fact that he expected roughly $800,000 to $1 million coming back on the healthcare budget for 23. That'll help, obviously. We discussed on the capital, spending maybe half of it at the beginning of fiscal year 24 and waiting to see how all the rest of the balls dropped and the shoe dropped for state aid, local receipts, anything that comes up. So a delay on that. We also talked about having a little delay on the OPEB contribution of 1.4 million. We really didn't want to go there because we're about to go out for bonds on the high school. And the last thing
why do you still have 6.4 on education for fiscal year 24? Took the 500,000 out.
I took the 500,000, but education includes the library and Voc and others. We go back to education. So there's school here. And what I did here, because I got 50 million there, but on my transfer, I put in ARPA revolving schools 500,000 because these are temporary. So the 500,000, maybe they'll get some more in 25 from revolving and so forth. But to avoid messing up my school forecast, assuming all these people stick around that they're hiring and these increases are coming, I put the 500,000 under available funds.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
But I mean, you're going to tell me you're going to get 500,000 every year?
Probably.
They're not going to get it from ARPA.
No, but they're not really, I mean, they could probably get 500 grand a year out of revolving. So it seems.
And then when it gets to zero, then what are they going to do?
They'll continue to turn a profit on the revolvers.
I think you're being overly optimistic.
I think you're being unfair putting up a 6.4 when they're coming in at 4 is what I think. I mean, that you're putting in, granted, I get what you are saying, but I think you putting them down as a 6.4 in your visual display is disingenuous.
Oh, well, when I do my PowerPoint, I'll put in the 500,000 for ARPA as a source of funds and 49,700,000 from tax levy. I mean, I'm gonna split it out.
It'll be the 4.2 for the school itself, the library is separate, so to speak. You split it out.
Yeah, these are all be split out.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else did we talk about in terms of source of funds? We're hoping to get more local receipts, more state aid. 1.7 may turn into a 0 if we get if those numbers come through. If they
We talked about increasing the cap, the tax recap on the tax receipts, right? By $500,000, I think, or.
Right, that's mine, not Dan's. Dan already has that higher.
Yeah, I've already got that in there.
Sorry.
We
And then
talked about
also,
releasing some overlay.
yeah, that's right. And that's right. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to put in, overlay account was what, 1.2 million, I think?
Yeah, we talked
Something
about
like that.
releasing 600,000 to the.
Right, pull 600,000 from that. Also, I've got 8.5 million local receipts, whereas Steve and Kevin have got 7.2, something like that. And we talked about why that is and why the DOR wants you to have a number that's more like 80 or 85% of previous years' local receipts, just to be super conservative. So if the DOR was saying anything, I'd have to knock this down by over $1 million on local receipts. And then we're short 2.7 million, but we'll get 8.4.
Yeah. Probably more.
Probably more. Joe, go ahead.
I had a question, Dan. When the schools, you have it at their baseline for this year is going to be the 50 million number rather than the 49 million. You know, the
Right.
500,000 off.
Right. So
Why aren't we telling them that their baseline is the 49 million, whatever that number is, and rather than the 50? Because they're going to increase it next year, and they're going to start it at 49,205 when it should be at 49,705.
yeah, I mean, you're stating my point exactly. I think I put it in my spreadsheet at the 50,205,000 and then have a $500,000 offset. But I'm not gonna use 49.7 here because then my forecast going out in the future is gonna be too low because the ARPA money is temporary.
Yeah, but they should have been at 4% to begin with.
Oh, I agreed.
5.2.
Yeah, wait till they come before us next week and we vote.
Because, I mean, they're moving forward, their number should be 49,705, not 5205. That's my point.
Yeah, yeah, but the source of funds is ARPA and revolving accounts, and those are temporary.
Yeah, that's not gonna be around next year. But
Right,
they're gonna add on to their percentage,
Right.
they're gonna start it at 5205 rather than 49.7. That's my point.
yep, no, I agree with you.
And that's what we should let them know that they should not. That they should start it for next year at 49,705.
Agreed.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and to me, they should be starting at 49.2. But
Why can't we make it the same way as the town council? It's not in the town meeting budget. The ARPA money is, let them treat it separately. It's not even in their budget. And if they don't get the funds, those positions don't come about, or wherever they want to put it.
I agree with you, Dennis.
Shouldn't even be in the budget. Just take the ARPA money out of the budget.
It's not in the tax levy, right?
It's not in the tax levy.
Or take
And
it
again,
out
the
of
school board is presenting the budget, and they are gonna present the budget at the full amount. And show available the source of funds. That's what they're gonna do. That's what they've done in the past.
But if they ask for it for tax levy, they're gonna be seeking the whole 5205.
They're not going to, correct.
Tax levy.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna show it in the pieces, I would believe, Joe. That's my understanding.
All right, well, we'll have to see. All right,
Yep.
because they went up to 5.2, I just think we should hold them to the 4%. And even with this ARPA money, I just foresee them next year just starting at 5205 when they should start at 49,705. That's my point.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you, like, you've got to change you have to change who you have on the school committee, then. You have to change who you have negotiating all their contracts. They started this year, what, at 4.2, Jim? That it was 4.2% increase
Yeah.
based on teachers, essentially, or based on like contractual budgetary increases. So, like, I mean, Joe, I hear you, but we can squawk all we want about 4, and and Dan says, well, we'll run out of money. We won't run out of money. We'll just take it from other places.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I think they should stick to the 4%. That's many years ago, they've said that's what it was when we gave them that big increase, and
That was
they
many
just
years
abide by
ago.
it,
And
and that's it.
that was before, before it had that much value here.
Well,
I would, I tend to agree that let's face it, in my opinion, that their ask is higher than we can handle. And that's been articulated to them in the past, and it's clear to them. And they're doing their part, they believe, this year, but next year is next year, correct?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at, if you go from 15 to 24, the 10-year average is 5.5% per year. They've been way above everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll be perfectly honest. I've been on the committee for 30 years, and I just noticed that, and I couldn't believe it was that long. And they've been playing this song for 30 years, and I'm kind of sick of the tune.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. Yeah, and you're funny, you go back 30 years, if I unhide this, if I go back 2006, the 3.9%. And then from 7, I mean, this is all pretty reasonable through 12.
Mhm.
And then it got crazy.
Yep.
4.9 started in 13 and all the way up. Now we're averaging 5.4% since 13. We can't sustain that. And I've told Doug, this is not sustainable. They say, oh, this is a sustainable budget. It's not sustainable. Our revenue is going up, 3.5 to 4%, and you guys are going up 5.5. You can't do that. You're over 50% of our budget.
Right, and at the end of the day, I would argue that political officials want to have a solid living wage for teachers, and they deserve that. But it's not properly funded at the state level. So it gets backdoor funded by the towns, and the state legislature and state government wants school teachers to get increases. The bulk of their budget is personnel. So when people get what are considered appropriate raises without appropriate funds, here we are. So.
Right. And by the way, let's look at also the ridiculousness of us talking about like the last 20 years in terms of these things. Yeah, 2.5 is the stupid rule. Like 2.5 is the dumb rule. The rule actually, like, look, everybody who bought their house 20 years ago, all those taxpayers that we're talking about, everybody's squawking about, my taxes are going up, my taxes are going up. Yeah, your house is worth 4 times what it was worth. Quit complaining.
Yeah, when you sell, it's like, having stock.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my fault. I mean, that's like, yeah, that's the problem. Like, I'm sorry,
it's not your
the woman
fault.
can't stay in her house, but
Yeah, and the other thing to mention, like, for example, we're going to grab some money from the overlay account. I mean, that's a Band-Aid. Right? That's a one shot. That doesn't solve our long-term problem.
Right.
No, that's like opera pain to me, Dan, really,
Yep,
it's
yep, same thing.
it's not ongoing revenue.
it's like
No.
OPEB paying to me. I don't understand. Like, why, stop giving that away.
Let's bring Stefan in. He's been patiently waiting for us.
Sure.
Stefan,
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interject. I know, I think last meeting I did mention like expenditures per pupil metric. And in that Wakefield is relatively average for the state of Massachusetts. But I think there was one other thing that you'd mentioned. I forget who just mentioned this, but that the school budget is very close. A very significant portion of the overall town budget. And I was wondering if we have any metrics on how either surrounding communities and their schools are as a percentage of those communities' budgets, and whether or not we find ourselves as an outlier. And that's as surrounding communities or likewise communities, comparable communities, if you will. Do you know if we have any of those metrics?
Steve, I don't know if you have a anecdotal from some of the surroundings.
I think they're all above 50 or around 50, but I don't have a matrix on this, but let me see if I can get you one. That's the point.
I looked at it a couple of years ago, Stefan, in terms of what percentage we were spending on education as a percentage of total budget. And we were like 160 of the 315 towns and municipalities. And I think our SATs were in like the 115, 120, 130 level, somewhere in that range. So we were getting slightly more bang for our buck, if you can account for test scores as the achievement level. But it's more just a sense of, yeah, like, so are we spending time? Like, no, we're not spending that much, but we have a low tax base, and that's just the nature of the beast. So
Yeah,
we have that problem.
Yeah, and one of the challenges of that comparison is understanding where the school monies are coming from. For example, workers' comp is not in the school budget, right? Retirement costs for non-teachers is not in the school budget. Medical is not in the school budget. So if other towns include those items in the school budget, they will look like they're spending, 65 or 70% of their budget on schools, and we look like we're spending about 50. So you got to figure out where those other benefits are being paid for, comparing one town to another. So it's a bit of a challenge getting apples to apples.
I'd even throw in some of the DPW, the care of the grounds and things like that. The DPW does some of that near them too.
Yeah, yeah. And so
Right, so-
it's a difficult comparison.
Understand the fully loaded cost, Steve, is what you're saying?
And in a similar thing to like IT, for instance, there are transfers out of the school from that. Okay,
Right.
And we've
All right, I
kept,
appreciate it. Thank you.
we've kept that pretty flat for them too over the years. So
So Dan, the use of free cash is how much at this point? Did you show?
1.7 million, right? 1691 is my best guess.
So if we get 600,000 or 800,000 back to the general fund and we use some of the overlay, do we get close to that number? Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, we're going to be close to that zero. And if local receipts are a little bit higher than my 8.4 or 8.5 million, I heard something about more money on the House budget that was just announced a couple of days ago. We might get a little bit, there. The numbers aren't out yet.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if we delay on either OPEB or capital to see how other things land, I think we can get this to a zero. You have to cross our fingers.
Sounds familiar, I'm afraid. Any discussion from others? Dan, thanks for putting that up and
Yeah.
getting it updated.
You're welcome.
All right, also in the package was the total budgets to date. I just dropped it in there today. And I think grand total with the budgets we looked at tonight, a total change so far, 3.08.
Yes.
If I'm reading it right, Kevin or Steve, does not include obviously police and fire budgets.
does not include
You know,
potential
but-
raises.
The raises
Yeah.
for them, I'm sorry, but on a head count basis, the school has 600 or 700 people and the police and fire have 200, Steve, maybe total?
120. 100.
Yeah. So just when you, when I was thinking about that,
Maybe 100, yeah.
so my point to that is that the police and fire are going to increase the overall number. But schools have by far the bigger head count. So anyway, that summary document is in there. And I think that was all.
I think, Dan, in your forecast, you're holding some for police and fire raises, I think.
I am. I've got, I've plugged the 2% bump over the stated budget amounts that we've just voted on. I've added 2% to both police and fire.
And that was in the forecast, right?
Yeah, that's in the forecast. So, my total tax levy for 24 is 113 million.
Anybody else? Final thoughts? Dennis?
Well, on, what I'm concerned about is the encumbering at the end of the year with the school department.
So much for the Russians.
Does Steve or anybody have any say to argue?
Nobody's Lily White.
Oh, there's some background noise. Excuse me. There's background noise from someone if you're not speaking. Thank you.
Dan, it's you. It sounds like a television or something.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I want to know if we have if there's any way of us not allowing so much encumbering by the school department at the end of the year. Who
Sure,
has
so
and how it gets encumbered?
So I was talking to the superintendent and Christine today about dates for our meeting. And I asked them that same question about, the budgets to date and where their spending is to date and where they see themselves heading towards at the end of the fiscal year. They understand we want to look at that from a subcommittee basis, and I get that all back to all of you. But they don't have that information just yet. It's still too early, was what they stated. Now, that being said, I believe at the end of the month, the next, so at their school meeting, their school committee meetings, usually the first meeting in the new month, they give the schools a summary of where the spending is to date. And I pulled that for the end of March, and I'll pull it again for the end of April, and I've been looking at that a little bit as well. So that can be found when you go to their school meetings and go to their packet. Anyway, they haven't, they're not ready yet, but they understand the concerns from previous, Dennis, and we talked to them, and they understand that if they have money that to be returned, that is the way, everybody is expecting the game to be played. I guess that's how I'll word it, for lack of a better way to word it, but that's, they're on notice. And I think Steve has talked to Doug as well.
We've had those discussions too, Dennis.
Okay.
Pray for no snow between now and the end of the year too. We got some money there coming back.
All right, that's all I have. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there is nobody else.
Don't move. This is Dan.
Okay.
Seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thank you for your attendance. I'll send an email either tonight or tomorrow, looking to have a meeting possibly next Thursday to bring the schools in for their budget.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot. All right, thank you.
Thanks.